Hello everyone, my name is Vladimir and I work for SYSTRONICS as a business consultant. So today I'm going to introduce you to the AR-AP Settlements by SYSTRONICS application. First of all, let's understand what kind of problem this application solves. In the core of business, it happens so that you both buy from and sell to the same entity, which means that the same entity is defined both as a customer and a vendor for you in your Sage 300 database. Currently, as you have to define a separate customer and a separate vendor, the application does not provide a way to link one to another. As a result, we have to deal with their documents, such as invoices, debit or credit notes, receipts, separately, as if they are not connected anyway. Hence, the user might keep the records about such entities separately and spend a lot of time to settle their documents. AR-AP Settlements allows us to link customers and vendors and settle their transactions against each other. Moreover, it allows us to check the cumulative balance of the entity by adding the transaction balances of all linked vendor and customer documents. Now let's see how the application actually works. One of the key concepts of AR-AP Settlement is the settlement group. Using the settlements group screen, we can link customers and vendors together. For example, in the sample company database, the group 5 is created so that one customer is linked to 3 different vendors. Another example is group 6, where we have 3 different customers linked to 3 different vendors. Please note that the customers and vendors might have different currencies, and despite of this fact, the application allows us to settle their documents in the functional currency of the company. AR-AP Settlements also allows us to have one-sided groups, which means that you can have only vendors in one group or only customers in another one. This means that we can settle the documents of one vendor with the documents of another vendor. The same is applicable for the customers. This will help in cases, for example, when we have sold items to a subsidiary company, but we receive payments from its main company. So the documents of linked customers and vendors are settled by creating and posting settlement entries. Let's go to the settlement entry screen and understand how we can create a settlement entry. The very first step is to select the group for which we are going to create this settlement. In the receivables tab, we can see all the open documents of the customers belonging to the group 5. You might recall that we had there only one customer, and here is the list of the documents of this particular customer. The same is in the payables tab. We have here the open documents of the 3 vendors belonging to group 5. There are 3 ways to settle the documents in the settlement group. So the first way is manually. When settling manually, we select which document we want to settle on one side, and on the payables tab, we also should select against which documents we are going to settle the document selected in the receivables side. I want you to pay attention on the knockoff amount. So whenever we select the document by setting the apply column to yes, you see that the knockoff amount, which is the actual settlement amount, by default is the current balance of this document. Anyway, we can edit it as we want. And also please pay attention to this unallocated amount, which is the total of all the selected documents knockoff amounts. So if I select another document also, you see that the unallocated amount is being changed. So this unallocated amount should be distributed here on the other side for the documents. So for example, let's take several documents here. And you see that unallocated amount became 0. So as we add and post the entry, let's change the invoices to see how the unallocated amount is being distributed. So when we add and post a settlement entry, the application creates AR and AP adjustment batches. So now let's go and see what kind of batches AR and AP settlements created. So in AR adjustment batch list, we see here the last batch was created by the AR and AP settlements. So it created a batch containing different entries for each particular document with their knockoff amounts. So you remember that we have selected only one document from the receivable side. And this is the document and this is the knockoff amount. The same image is visible in the AP module. Again, here we have a batch containing different entries for each particular document we have selected with their knockoff amounts. So this was the first way to settle the documents. The second way is semi-manually, so which means that we need to select manually documents to be settled on one side, and on the other side we prompt the application to select instead of us. So in any case, the very first step is to select the settlement group for which we are going to create the settlement entry. So let's select a document on one side, and instead of manually selecting documents on the payable side, we need just to check the auto apply box, select the criteria based on which we want this unallocated amount to be distributed among the documents. So for example, let's take document date and press the go button. So we see that the application automatically selected two different documents which have the earliest document dates. So this was the semi-manually way to create the settlement entry. And the last way is the automatic settlement. Again, the first step of which is to select the settlement group for which we are going to create the settlement. So when we use automatic settlement, the application calculates total receivables and total payables in the settlement group, settles completely the one which is less, and then settles selected documents on the other side. So this is the warning about what will happen if we proceed with this option. Say agree. So now we can see that on the payable side, as the total of all the documents were less than from the receivable side, all the documents were selected. On the contrary, from the receivable side, the application selected only three or four documents. As a result, the unallocated amount is 0, so the entire amount of the payable settlement has been distributed to receivable documents. Again, as we post this transaction, adjustment entries will be created in AR and AP modules. After creating a settlement entry, we can print the settlement form to see which documents were settled. So here we can see all the settled documents on both sides with their totals. And please note that if we have created but not yet posted the settlement, we can see the draft word here. This document might be very useful to send to your partners to inform them what kind of documents has been settled against each other, or maybe you can use this document to send to your supervisor to approve the transactions. Starting from the version 2017G, we can also choose the create receipt payment for the remaining balance function. So when we select this checkbox, we then define the bank for AR receipt, bank for AP payment, and the currency in which the receipts and payments should be created. This function will create either AR receipts or AP payments for those documents which were not settled by this settlement entry or which were settled partially. So now let's pause and see what happens. Now we remember that all the documents from the payable side has been settled, and there were only 3 documents from the AR side selected. So let's go to AR receipt badge and see the receipt entry which was generated by AO for all the documents which were not settled or settled partially in the last settlement entry that we have created together. It is worth mentioning that we don't need to create settlement entry manually every time. Starting from the version 2017G, we have create settlement batch periodic process where we can create the settlement batch for either all groups, or we can select the range of group. And please note that create receipt payment for the remaining balance function is also here. And when we create the settlement batches with this function, it always uses the automatic settlement method. Another benefit of using AR-AP settlements is that we can see the total payables and receivables balances of settlement groups when we are creating AR receipts or AP payments. In AO, we have slightly customized screens of payment entry and receipt entry. So let's go there and see what kind of screen is it. So this is the familiar AP payment entry screen with a slight difference here. So this area shows, whenever we select a vendor, this area will show us to which particular settlement group the selected vendor belongs to and what is the vendor balance of that group. So the same is here in AOAR receipt entry. Again, when we select the customer, we can see to which particular group the selected customer belongs to, and we can see the customer balance of the settlement group 5 here. So I would like also to invite your attention to AR-AP settlements reports and inquiries. So we can check the overall group balance by printing the settlement group statement report. Here, for example, let's take only 2 groups. So we can see here the total balance for the both receivable and payable sides in particular group. You remember that we have just created settlement entry which settled all the open documents from the customer side in the group 5. That's why we have here a total balance of 0. But when we go to group 6 here, we can observe that all the open documents with their total balances is there. And also we have the total balance of the entire group here. Alternatively, we can use the AR-AP inquiry screen, where again we can see the total balances of the groups. We can see particular balances of each customer or vendor belonging to this group. Moreover, when we double click on an entity, we can see all the open documents of this particular customer with their related information that might be useful for us. So the last report I want to show you is the audit report. We can print the audit report to see what were the transactions sent to AR and AP modules from AR and AP settlements module. So here we can see the batch number and entry number of AO, which created this particular batch in AP module. So another example is that this AO batch has created this adjustment batch in AR with this amount. And if receipts or payments were created, we can also see the details about the receipts and payments here. Please be informed that also starting from 2019, we can use the global search to find AO settlement groups and settlement entries. So if we want to find AO settlements groups, the settlement group and settlement group description fields can be used for it. And for AO settlement entries, the transaction number, the settlement group, batch number, entry number, reference, and description fields can be used for using the global search. And also, please note that starting from 2018, AR-AP Settlements also has web screens. I will just show you the settlement entry screen, where we can do all the things that we are able to do in the desktop version. So here is the settlement entry screen on the web, and all the fields already familiar to us. So I will not show you all the web screens now, but please be informed that everything that we can do on this version can also be done on web screens. So this was all I wanted to show you today. Thank you for your attention.